On the select household screen, we haven't added this button yet, but we should have a button down here that says new households if the household doesn't already exist. Let's add that button, and that's going to be the button bar flow button bar from the unofficial Salesforce. It was already installed as part of the package that we installed earlier. So we're going to add this flow button bar here, and I'd like to name this button bar underscore and then the name of the screen. This button bar is added on the select household screen. And then we need to add one button here. We don't want to add multiple, it's just one, and that should say new households. This is what the button should look like. And then feel free to add an icon to it like this. Feel free to customize this even further. I'd like to show up on the left side. And then that's everything we need. Just one thing to call out here is that as part of the new button, it has a value here. This value is important. I'm gonna copy this value, and then we're gonna reference it in a second. Let's save this, and then let's click done. Now, what this button does is that it's gonna evaluate if this button was clicked right after the screen. So regardless of which button the user clicks, this button or the finish button, in both of them or next button, it's going to move forward to see the next element. So whatever next element is, that's the one that's going to determine where to go. So we're going to need to check if the user has clicked this new households button. We're going to use a decision element for that, and we'll ask the question, click the new households, yes and no. How do we know that the user clicked this household? So we're going to check if the button bar value equals that value that we copied earlier, new households. So if that value is new households, it means that button was clicked. If this was not the value, then it's some other button that was clicked. And in this case, we only have the next button or the finish button. I think it says finish here, but then if you actually run it, it's going to say next. All right, so this is the path. I'm just going to end it to just separate it. Now, this is the path where if they click the new households, we would like this, whatever logic we're going to add here, to happen. And if they click new households, would like them to go to a screen where they start adding households. So let's add screen here. And that's new households screen. And let's hide the header. Let's hide pause. And let's keep everything else. And we can add a display text to be a header on this screen. I'll just go ahead right away and add the repeater component. And the repeater component is going to allow the user to just repeat whatever we're going to add inside in here. Let's just give it the name first. So this is the repeater underscore households. Now, we're going to add a text input inside this repeater here. And that input is household name. Now, with that here, what's going to happen is that the user can repeat this repeater component. So that basically, it's going to just like create another input with the value with the input field household name. And then this repeater component, if the user adds like five items of these repeater component, we will have the option to loop through this list of items in that repeater component, and then we just take whatever output from each one of them and then assign it. We'll look at that in a second. So all the information we need is just the household name for now. Let's click done, and now here we're gonna loop through this repeater component. Let's see, loop new households. And if we go into the screen that says new households screen, we'll see this repeater households component. If we click that, we'll have a few options: added items, all items, pre-populated items, and removed items. All of them are relevant if we had pre-populated the repeater with some information. We have not done that. So we'll just go with all items because we just want to loop through everything that's in the repeater. We can look at the other situations another time. So we're looping through all the items in that repeater. And what are the items are there? It's just a list of household names. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to take the first household name, and then we're going to assign that value to a new account. And then that value is the account name on that account. And then we're going to take that account and we'll add it to a collection, and then we're going to create that collection. You could do a create element here right away, and then just select manually and select account, and then set the account name to be equal to current repeater, current item from repeater, and then household name. You could do that, but this is bad practice. Using a create element consumes one DML, data manipulation language, and if you use it inside a loop, it's gonna, if we have 10 households, then it's gonna consume 10 DML. We might get away with it like this, but once you reach 150 DML, then the flow is going to crash. So working with larger data volumes could result in problems. The best approach here is to assign the values and record variables, and then you create outside the loop. That's what we're going to do. To do that, I'm going to need to create an account record variable first. So let's go ahead and create a new record variable underscore new household. That's a record of object account. Let's go ahead and now assign the values of that record variable that we just created. It's currently empty, so we're going to use an assignment element. And let's say assign new household. Now that is the record variable household that we created earlier, and then we need the name to be, the account name to be the current item from loop, which is the household name. And then we're going to repeat this for every one of the accounts. But we don't, like, right now we are taking the household name and we're putting it into this account name. On the second iteration, it's going to take the account name and then it's going to overwrite this value. So we need this account to take it and store it somewhere else so that it doesn't get overwritten next time. So what we're going to do is that we're going to create a collection. So record collection variable underscore new households. And then that's a count, an account object. And then I'm going to use this in another assignment. You could do the same. You could do that in one assignment, and I'll say collect households. I'd like just to keep naming consistent by saying you collect new households. And what we're doing here is that I'm clicking this collection, then I'm clicking outside, and then I'm adding. Did I forget? I definitely forgot to click that it is a collection. I forgot to click that this is a collection. Deleting this and just creating it again. Record, count, collection, and then here collection, and then add to add a record to it, and then the record variable household. Now you might think that on the second iteration this will be overwritten, but no, I like to think of this as a copy. It's not the actual record, but it's rather a copy of this. I'll show you this in a second. So we have, just need one of these. So this is the record variable new household. And then we assign one value in here, which is the account name. Let's say Omega A. And then we take this and we have a collection. I'll just delete all of this. This is the collection here. And when we add it to a collection, we don't do this. We don't move it inside the collection like this. Let me change the color so we can see it. We do not just like moving it. Is the layer. So we don't move it inside the collection like this. If we have like a second, we do this. That's not what happens. What actually happens is that it's a copy. So it's like when you do this, when you move it in a collection, you just make a copy of it inside the collection. And the next time this is overwritten, the value changes from this to a new value, let's say Bravo. That does not change the values that were already added to the collection. So on the second iteration, we're going to add it here. And then on the third iteration, we're going to add it here. The third iteration is going to have a different name. And so on. So it's a copy. It's not just moving the record variable inside a collection. It's a copy of that record variable. So we're assigning one variable to whatever current household name, and then we're making a copy of this and we're adding it inside this collection. And then on the second iteration, we are overwriting the copy that is outside the collection, and then we're adding that, making a copy of it inside the collection, and then we're just repeating. By the end of this, if we had 10 households, then we have 10 households in this collection. And then after that, we're gonna go ahead and create that collection. Create new households. And let's select a record variable, and that's multiple. Multiple meaning a record collection variable, and let's select that record collection variable. Okay. One thing we need to do is to say that this account is a business account. If you were to create a new account, it's going to ask you for the record type. Is this a person account or is this a business account? So we need to specify that this is a business account. To do this, if I want to specify the record type, then I'm going to need the ID, not the name of the record type, but I need the ID of the record type. So I need the ID of the record type. I need to get that first. And you don't want to perform a get inside the loop either. Let's perform the get record type outside. And record type is an object. So let's query get business account record type. And let's search for record type. And there is, when you query a record type, you're going to need to specify two fields. The first one is the type of object. This record type of which object? We need the record type of the account object. And then the developer name of the record type. And I like to almost always go copy the record type. Even if I know the name, I would rather just like stay on the safe side and go grab the name. It's not here, it's here, and then business account, and then just copy and paste. And all we need from this record type is just the ID. Now that we have the record type in here, we can then assign that record type from get, and then ID, record type ID. Okay. We're performing some logic in here, a bunch of elements, and sadly, we can't send the repeater collection to a subflow. Otherwise, I would have moved this list of elements into a subflow. Now, let's save this. And there is another thing we need to do. We just created a business account. We have not added any way to tell that this is a household. And in Nonprofit Cloud, we specify that this is a household by creating a party relationship group. So we need to create a party relationship group for each one of those households. I'm going to do that in a subflow. So we're gonna send to the subflow the list of households. And we're gonna loop through each one of those households to assign one party relationship group, and then we're gonna create that party relationship group. So we are expecting from the parent a list of accounts. So that's record collection variable. This is the new household accounts for new households. I don't remember the naming. That's a new households, and then record, and that's account, and that's available for input. We're going to receive that record collection variable. We're going to loop through it. Loop new households, and did I just forget to? I just forgot to do that again. Delete record collection variable counts, and then multiple, looping through that collection. And then for each one of those households, we're creating one party relationship group. So let's create a new record variable underscore party relationship group. You could write it PRG, but I rather to be very clear and very obvious. And that's party relationship group. That's one record. And we will definitely, after we assign one record, we're going to need to add it to a collection. So we're going to create the collection right away. Now, that's record collection variable, and I will add an S at the end. That's record. Let me check that. Party relationship group. And done. Now let's assign the first party relationship group. Let's assign party relationship group. That's the record variable party relationship group. And we need to populate the type field to be household. Is there anything else we need to populate there? Start date and end date, not necessarily. Status equals active. Anything else here that we need? I don't know if the name is auto-populated. I think it is auto-populated. Let's keep it at this, and then if there is a need to do that, to add like some other field, then we can do that later. Now I'm gonna add another assignment to collect into a collection variable, collect a party relationship group. And that's the record collection variable party relationship group, add that variable. Now you see why I would rather separate these two into two assignment elements. If I were to do this here like this and then add the record variable, that works just fine. But then after some time I realized there was a field that I forgot to add, and that is just, let's say that's the start date equals some value. If I do that, that's not gonna work. Like the date field is not going to get populated after we actually create, because we added it to the collection before we assigned that value. Remember, it's like a copy. This copy was sent with its values into the collection, and then we overwrite the one outside the collection, not the one inside the collection. So this is not going to work. So I'm gonna have to move this line all the way down, and because I can't move it, I'm gonna have to do this and then copy and then paste this here, and then add this record variable, and then just delete this one. So I have to do these steps. And in order to avoid doing these steps, I would just rather have the collection in its own assignment, so that I can add whatever field assignments here as I want. Let alone being clear, like this is where the assignment is happening and this is where the collection is happening. And after the loop, we can go ahead and create that party relationship groups. It's definitely faster to just type it down. Create party relationship groups, multiple record collection party relationship groups, and save, and subflow, create party relationship groups. Save and activate. I'll copy the name, and let's go back to this, refresh. I'm gonna hope that I saved. Seem to have saved, yes. And let's create that party relationship groups here. This subflow is expecting, looks like I didn't mark it as available for input. I remember to do one thing and then I forget to do the other. The new household is supposed to be available for input. I'm gonna have to save as a new version now. Activate and refresh. And let's go here and send the new households here, and that is the record to collection variable new households. That's the one that we are sending over. And one thing to know here is that if you have a record variable and then you create it, after the transaction completes, the ID is stored into that record variable. So if you need to access it after the create element, you can. After the transaction completes, it's gonna find that ID into that record variable. If you have a collection, the IDs also get added into that collection, not into the record variable. Like here we have assign new household, and then we have we're adding this household to a collection, and then we are creating the collection. The IDs will be available in the collection, not into the individual single record variables. Let's just do a debug to make sure that these households and party relationship groups are getting created successfully. And I'll just link this, connect this element to back to select household screen. So after we add them, we need to take them back to select the household from the screen. There is still one problem that we're going to fix in another video, but for now, let's just debug to make sure that these records are getting created just fine. Debugging. Run. Let's click new households. It's taken me to the screen where we add households. Let's say test A. Let's do it test B. And let's click next. All right, it took us back to that screen. Now let's go to accounts to see if these got created successfully. I see test B and I see test A. The problem here is that if I search for any of those here, test A and test B do not show up. We'll fix that later.